Hello and welcome to yet another exploring session from the Beyond Shakespeare YouTube conglomerate. Right, today we are at the end of The Night of the Burning Pestle, a play which is probably better known to non-specialists than most other early modern plays in our repertoire. We've been having a lot of fun with it. It's a great, big, huge, complicated mess. So all I will say for its many delights is that there's a really lovely meta-theatrical part, the citizen and the citizen's wife, who will be coming in and commenting on the action and trying to get things to go the way they like it. Or at least that's how it's been so far. Who knows what'll happen next? I certainly don't. I have no idea what's about to happen. We will begin from Act 4, Scene 4, and we'll go all the way through to the end. We have a varied and wonderful group of readers with us today who I am about to introduce. Reading The Merchant, the Sergeant, and Mistress Merrythought.
Kyle DiRoberto. I'm an academic in Tucson.
Reading Luce and Hamilton.
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm a college composition teacher in the Northwestern United States.
Reading Jasper, Green Goose, and Michael.
Hello, Dan, actor based in Montpellier, France.
Reading Servant and Rafe.
Steve Longstaff, nothing very much, based in the northwest of England.
Reading The Boy, Humphrey, that's two different people, and The First Soldier.
Rachel, actor on the East Coast.
Reading The Citizen's Wife and The Second Soldier.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu and I'm an author based in Romford.
Reading Old Merrythought.
Alan, based in Suffolk, and on the grounds of public safety, I will not be singing.
We are all disappointed. And finally, but very far from least, as he is also running things backstage for me because I am technically incompetent, is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm not technically competent either, but I just pretend to be. It's called acting.
Reading Second Boy and Citizen. I am your guest host, Aliki Chapple. I'm in the northwest of England. And I think without further ado, we'll get back to The Night of the Burning Pestle, Act 4, Scene 4. Enter Luce, alone.
If there be any punishment inflicted upon the miserable more than I yet feel, let it altogether seize me and at once press down my soul. I cannot bear the pain of these delaying tortures. Thou that art the end of all, and the sweet rest of all, come, come, O death, bring me to thy peace, and blot out all the memory I nourish, both of my father and my cruel friend. O wretched maid, still living to be wretched, to be essay to fortune in her changes, to grow to number times and woes together. How happy had I been, if being born, my grave had been my cradle.
Enter Servant.
By your leave, young mistress, here's a boy hath brought a coffin. What I would say I know not, but your father charged me to give you notice. Here they come.
Exit Servant, enter two bearing a coffin with Jasper in it.
For me, I hope 'tis come, and 'tis most welcome.
Fair mistress, let me not add it greater grief to that great store you have already. Jasper, that whilst he lived was yours, now dead, and here enclosed, commanded me to bring his body hither, and to crave a tear from those fair eyes, though he deserve not pity, to deck his funeral. For so he bid me, tell her for whom he died.
He shall have many. Good friends, depart a little whilst I take my leave of this dead man that once I loved.
Exeunt coffin carriers and boy.
Hold yet a little life, and then I give thee to thy first heavenly being. O my friend, thou hast deceived me thus and got before me. I shall not long be after, but believe me, Thou wert too cruel, Jasper, 'gainst thyself in punishing the fault I could have pardoned with so untimely death. Thou didst not wrong me, but ever wert most kind, most true, most loving, and I the most unkind, most false and cruel. Didst thou but ask a tear? I'll give thee all, even all my eyes can pour down, all my sighs and all myself, before thou goest from me. There are but sparing rites. But if thy soul be yet about this place, and can behold and see what I prepare to deck thee with, it shall go up, borne on the wings of peace, and satisfied. First I will sing thy dirge, and kiss thy pale lips, and then die myself, and fill one coffin and one grave together. Come you whose lovers are dead, whilst I sing, weep, and ring, every hand and every head bind with cypress and sad yew, ribbons black and candles blue, for him that was of men most true. Come with heavy mourning, and give on his grave, let him have sacrifice of sighs and groaning. Let him have fair flowers enow, white and purple, green and yellow. For him that was of men most true, thou sable cloth, sad cover of my joys, I lift thee up, and thus I meet with death.
And thus you meet the living.
Jasper rises up out of the coffin.
Save me, heaven!
Nay, do not fly me fair. I am no spirit. Look better on me. Do you not know me yet?
Oh, thou dear shadow of my friend.
In substance, I swear I am no shadow. Feel my hand. It's the same as it was. I am your Jasper that's yet living and yet loving. Pardon my rash attempt, my foolish proof, I put in practice of your constancy. For sooner should my sword have drunk my blood and set my soul at liberty than drawn the least drop from that body, for which boldness doomed me to anything. If death, I take it, and willingly.
This death I'll give you for it.
Kisses him.
So now I am satisfied. You are no spirit, but my own truest friend. Why do you come to me thus?
First to see you, then to convey you hence.
It cannot be, for I am locked here and watched at all hours. It is impossible for me to escape.
Nothing more possible. Within this coffin do you convey yourself. Let me alone. I have the wits of 20 men about me. Only I crave the shelter of your closet a little, and then fear me not. Creep in, that they may presently convey you hence. Fear nothing, dearest love. I'll be your second.
Luce lies in the coffin. Jasper covers her with the cloth.
Lie close. So all goes well yet. Boy!
Re-enter coffin carriers and boy.
Convey away the coffin and be wary. Hey, boy.
'Tis done already, sir. At hand, sir.
Now I must go conjure.
Exit Jasper into a closet. Enter merchant.
Boy.
Your servant, sir.
Do me this kindness. Hold, here's a crown. Before thou bury the body of this fellow, carry it to his old merry father, and salute him for me, and bid him sing, he hath cause.
I will, sir.
And then bring me word that what tune he is in, and have another crown. But do it truly, I have fitted him a bargain, now will vex him.
God bless your worship's health, sir.
Farewell, boy.
Exeunt severally. Do we need to discuss this cute little scene? Anyone have any thoughts on it? Or shall we move along? Let's move along. Act 4, Scene 5. Enter Master Merrythought.
Ah, old Merrythought, art thou there again? Let's hear some of thy songs.
Who can sing a merrier note than he that cannot change a groat? Not a denier left, and yet my heart leaps. I do wonder yet as old as I am, that any man will follow a trade or serve that may sing and laugh and walk the streets? My wife and both my sons are, I know not where. I have nothing left, nor know not I how to come by meat to supper. Yet I'm merry still, for I know I shall find it upon the table at 6 o'clock, and therefore hang the thought. I would not be a serving man to carry the cloak bag still, nor would I be a falconer the greedy hawks to fill. But I would be in a good house, and have a good master too. But I would eat and drink of the best, no work would I do. This is it that keeps life and soul together. Mirth! This is the philosopher's stone that they write so much on, that keeps a man ever young.
Enter a boy.
They say they know all your money's gone, and they will trust you for no more drink.
Will they not? Let them choose. The best I have is mirth at home, and need not send abroad for that. Let them keep their drink to themselves. For Gillian of Berry, she dwells on a hill, and she hath good beer and ale to sell, and of good fellows she thinks no ill. And thither will we go now, and thither will we go now. And when you have made a little stay, you need not ask what is to pay, but kiss your hostess and go your way. And thither we will go now, and thither we will go now.
Enter another boy.
Sir, I can get no bread for supper.
Ah, hang bread and supper. Let's preserve our mirth, and we shall ne'er feel hunger. I warrant you, let's have a catch, boy. Follow me. Come, sing this catch. Ho, ho, nobody at home. Meat nor drink nor money have we none. Fill the pot, Edie, never more need I.
Fill the pot, Edie, never more need I.
So, boys, enough. Follow me. Let's change our place, and we shall laugh afresh.
Exeunt. I don't know if anybody else. Okay, that song, right, that he sings. I know a tune to that, right? That's
Me too.
yeah.
Hey ho, nobody home. Meat nor drink nor money I none.
Still
I can be very,
very merry. Hey.
It's a round.
Yeah, as a round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never
I know
come
there's
across
a
it.
double round with rose, 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 rose. Will I never see thee wed?
Yeah.
So that they fit
That
together.
I haven't heard.
Who knew it was that old? Wow.
Yeah, no, neither did I. But yeah, I remember it was sort of circulating when I was in elementary school, which was, back when woolly mammoths roamed the earth.
Well, you and me and the woolly mammoths, Lynn. Rachel,
Yeah,
what are you
so-
singing there? You know the red rose part. Yeah.
Yeah, I there was a what do you call it? I used to listen to industrial music in high school, and there was a singer who had part of that round in her song.
Cool. Alan.
Given the commonality of background between the three of you who've recognised that, I wonder whether that's survived better in the American tradition than it has in the British one.
That's
Possibly.
entirely possible. It came over with the first colonizers and kind of lost
Survived.
traction
Yeah.
in the UK, but kept in circulation here. It's entirely possible.
So, hey ho, nobody home aside, any thoughts on that little scene or the two little scenes that we've just read?
Mhm. Boy, Mary thought is sort of stubbornly cheerful, isn't he? Like nothing gets him down.
I like it's the philosopher's stone. Eric.
Yeah, nothing can possibly go wrong here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think he is going to run out of food and drink at some point, especially since he's just sent his wife away and she's the only one who seemed to have any thought to the practicalities.
Yeah.
No? Elizabeth.
Yeah, is it me or is the pace quickening for the scenes? I get a sense for the last two that we've just rushed, we're hurtling towards the end. And it's really interesting because some of the plays we do, it's like a crawl, like a slow, painful crawl to the last scene. But this one, it feels like it's going downhill, and not negatively, but just very quickly. Just moving very quickly.
Anyone else? Rachel.
No, it's back to that song again. For me, because that round is such an earworm, and so I wonder, like, if it's not just playing pop songs at the times that people would recognize, but if you could get out of people like a groan of, like, you just say a couple lines from the song and they're like, oh, now it's in my head for the whole day. You know, like that type of thing. Just those ones that sometimes you don't want to remember, but you can't help. Somebody just says a word and you're off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric,
sorry.
I was just gonna say that I like the way I imagine this scene is, okay, the boy comes in and says, "Sir, all your money's gone," and then goes off, and Mary Thought is singing. Then the second boy comes on, and they sort of hop, skip, and jump around. Sort of. I don't know. That's kind of how I imagine it. Sort of, holding hands and like skipping around and sort of, hey, we're not going to feel hungry, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think that's true. He's sort of leading them off Pied Piper like. My apologies for the little bit of advert that appeared there. I was trying to find a version of the Red Rose rhyme, and of course there was an ad. Dan.
It's all right, because we need the sponsors to pay the bills. I'm sure, because I'm not here every week or every time that we have a song there, but I think it's great that we're hearing a song that we know today and was likely probably well known back in the day, because I do think that this was probably, if it was as well known as it seems to be right now, a nice earworm for audiences, especially as this was being performed by a children's company. And you would expect that, with all of the music that's incorporated into this, they would hope for possibly some audience participation, or at least to just be going along with it. It's an easy way, of course, to invite the public into it by having some familiar songs sung.
And Old Mary Thought, of course, has sung more than half of his lines, including clearly improvising some of the words to known tunes.
Right.
We heard that in Alan's speech patterns this time, but so it'd be interesting to see if some of the other songs are recognizable or were known to their audience. Stephen.
I wonder if the phenomenon that Elizabeth has noticed is perhaps also to do with the blessed relief of a bit of coherence. It has been really pacey in the sense of lots and lots of things happening, but it has been a bit kind of Tristram Shandy-esque. There have been. It feels like we've had quite a lot of digressions in a sense, and this sort of the coffin trick. You sort of think, right, something's actually happening the way it normally does in plays. Wow, things are really moving. Yeah. So I wonder if that might be part of the effect that Elizabeth noticed as well, that we're kind of a bit of coherence as well as a bit of pace, and that they kind of reinforce one another.
Well, we did have two whole scenes in a row without the citizen and the citizen's wife intervening, which is about to be broken.
So
I'm about ready to go on to that bit, if everyone else is. Any further thoughts? Elizabeth.
Just one last thing. I like the way Mary Thought switches between his dialogue and his songs. And it sort of shows you about his thought processes, like how because he'll say, need not send abroad for that, let them keep their drink to themselves. And then he starts singing a song about the very same topic. And I've just found that just really fascinating to have a character who's so drunk and so full of food, but still has such a quick wit that he can connect different parts of songs to what he was thinking about or what he was just speaking about.
I think he's quite an entertaining character, but everything is so entertaining here. Onward we go. However, Interlude 4.
Let him go, George. Shall not have any countenance from us, not a good word from any in the company, if I may stroke in it.
No more shall not love, but now I will have Rafe do a very notable matter now to the eternal honor and glory of all grocers. Sir, you there, boy, Can none of you hear?
Sir, your pleasure.
Let Rafe come out on May Day in the morning and speak upon a conduit with all his serfs about him, and his feathers and his rings and his necks.
Why, sir, you do not think of our plot. What will become of that then?
Why, sir, I care not what become on it. I'll have him come out, or fetch him out myself. I'll have something done in honor of the city. Besides, he hath been long enough upon adventures. Bring him out quickly, or if I come in amongst you,
Well, sir, he shall come out, but if our play miscarry, sir, you are like to pay for't.
Exit boy.
bring him away then.
This will be brave in faith. George, shall not he dance the Morris too for the credit of the Strand?
No, sweetheart, it will be too much for the boy. Oh, there he is now. He's reasonable well in reparo, but has not rings enough.
Enter Rafe.
London, to thee I do present the merry month of May. For let each true subject be content to hear me what I say. For from the top of Conduit Head, as plainly may appear, I will both tell my name to you, and wherefore I came here. My name is Rafe, by due descent, though not ignoble I, yet far inferior to the flock of gracious grocery. And by the common counsel of my fellows in the Strand, with gilded staff and crossed scarf, the May Lord here I stand. Rejoice, O English hearts, rejoice. Rejoice, O lovers dear, rejoice, O city, town, and country. Rejoice eke every shire. For now the fragrant flowers do spring and sprout in seemly sort. The little birds do sit and sing. The lambs do make fine sport. And now the birchen tree doth bud that makes the schoolboy cry. The morris rings while hobby horse doth foot it feteously. The lords and ladies now abroad for their disport and play do kiss sometimes upon the grass and sometimes in the hay. Now, butter with a leaf of sage is good to purge the blood. Fly Venus and phlebotomy, for they are neither good. Now, little fish on tender stone begin to cast their bullies, and sluggish snails that erst was mute do creep out of their shellies. The rumbling rivers now do warm for little boys to paddle. The sturdy steed now goes to grass, and up they hang his saddle. The heavy heart, the blowing buck, the rascal and the pricket are now among the yeoman's peas, and leave the fee-full thicket. And be like them, O you, I say, of this same noble town, and lift aloft your velvet heads, and slipping of your gown, with bells on legs and napkins clean unto your shoulders tied, with scarfs and garters as you please, and hey, for our town cry, march out and show your willing minds by 20 and by 20 to Hogston or to Newington, where ale and cakes are plenty. And let it ne'er be said for shame that we, the youths of London, lay thrumming of our caps at home and left our custom undone. But then I say, both young and old, both man and maid a maying, with drums and guns that bounce aloud, and merry tabor playing, which to prolong, God save our king, and send his country peace, and root out treason from the land. And so, my friends, I cease.
Exit Rafe. So yes, just as we were saying that the plot is moving along nicely, along come the citizen and his wife to say, no, we like Rafe. Can Rafe do a Lord Mayor show for us, please?
Just gonna throw in some.
What about our play? Steve.
I love that Dickensian touch that Rachel gave. You know, this pathetic little sort of 4-year-old going, but what about the play?
Please, sir, can we do our play?
There is such a wonderful comedy to these scenes where these two members of the audience are constantly demanding that everything change, and you can just see the company scrambling around desperately to fulfill their desires. Eric.
I demand entertainment. No, yeah. I this is just fascinating. The speech is fascinating because it makes me think like sort of what was is it a I mean, obviously it was might have been used for May Day and stuff. So sort of what kind of, it just makes me think what kind of stuff was used at the time, sort of as a sort of not relic, a remnant of like some rite or some celebration that happened on May Day. With maypoles and Morris dances and all that stuff.
Stephen.
Well, spring is the spirit of comedy, I guess, is one of the things, isn't it? That the natural world is sort of introduced to us because what's happening amongst the younger cast members is only natural, isn't it? This kind of, the old is being kind of subverted, and the young are getting together, which is the Shelleys do it, and Steeds do it, and let's Blowing Books do it, and Rascals and Crickets do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. That's definitely Northrop Frye's model, that spring is comedy, summer is romance, fall is tragedy, and winter is satire. So there's a sort of cycle of related genres. So yes, so comedy is the season of comedy is spring. So of course we have a May Day allegory here, but it's so great. I mean, like even the form of the verse changes, so it's this more archaic. What is this 14ers? It's just something you see in older drama. It's like, oh, I've run out of romance stuff. Here, we'll put in a pageant. That'll be cool.
There's also just such a wealth of detail about what a May Day celebration looks like, with the ribbons and the cakes and ale and heading out to to Newington and Hodgson, and it's lovely stuff. Eric.
Also, I like the bit at the end, sort of like, oh yeah, we're not just like lying at home doing nothing. We're actually, we're coming with drums and guns that bounce around and so on and so forth. And there's a part of me going, the Merry Apprentices of London, which is from a different play that we did once upon a time. Yeah.
So are we ready to move on to Act 5?
Did anyone hear a cheer when Eric said the Merry Apprentices of London? I just heard a mighty roar. Yeah.
Okay.
Act 5, Scene 1. Enter Merchant. Solus.
I will have no great store of company at the wedding. A couple of neighbors and their wives, and we will have capon and stewed broth with marrow and a good piece of beef stuck with rosemary.
Enter Jasper, his face mealed.
Forbear thy pains, fond man. It is too late.
Heaven bless me, Jasper.
I am his ghost whom thou hast injured for his constant love. Fond worldly wretch, who dost not understand in death that true hearts cannot parted be. First, know thy daughter is quite borne away on wings of angels through the liquid air too far out of thy reach, and never more shalt thou behold her face. But she and I will in another world enjoy our loves, where neither father's anger, poverty, nor any cross that troubles earthly men shall make us sever our united hearts. And never shall thou sit or be alone in any place. But I will visit thee with ghastly looks, and put into thy mind the great offenses which thou didst to me. When thou art at thy table with thy friends, merry in heart and filled with swelling wine, I'll come in midst of all thy pride and mirth, invisible to all men but thyself, and whisper such a sad tale in thine ear, shall make thee let the cup fall from thy hand, and stand as mute and pale as death itself.
Forgive me, Jasper. Oh, what might I do? Tell me to satisfy thy troubled ghost.
There is no means. Too late thou think'st on this.
But tell me what were best for me to do.
Repent thy deed, and satisfy my father, and beat fond Humphrey out of thy doors.
Exit Jasper. Enter Humphrey.
Look, George, his very ghost would have folks beaten.
Father, my bride is gone, fair mistress loose. My soul's the font of vengeance, mischief's sluice.
Hence, out of my sight, with thy fond passion, thou hast undone me.
Beats Humphrey.
Hold, my father dear, for loose, thy daughter's sake that had no peer.
Thy father, fool, there's some blows more, begone. Jasper, I hope thy ghost be well appeased. To see thy will performed, now will I go, to satisfy thy father for thy wrongs.
Exit merchant.
What shall I do? I have been beaten twice, and Mistress Luce is gone. Help me devise. Since my true love is gone, I never more, whilst I do live, upon the sky will pour, but in the dark will wear out my shoe soles. In passion, in Saint Faith's church under poles.
Exit Humphrey.
George, call Rafe hither. If you love me, call Rafe hither. I have the bravest thing for him to do, George. Prithee, call him quickly.
Rafe. Why, Rafe, boy.
Enter Rafe.
Yes, sir.
Come hither, Rafe. Come to thy mistress, boy.
Rafe, I would have thee call all the youths together in battle array, with drums and guns and flags, and march to Mile End in pompous fashion, and there exhort your soldiers to be merry and wise, and to keep their beards from burning, Rafe, and then skirmish, and let your flags fly, and cry, kill, kill, kill. My husband shall lend you his jerkin, Rafe, and there's a scar for the rest. The house shall furnish you, and we'll pay for it. Do it bravely, Rafe, and think before whom you perform and what person you represent.
I warrant you, mistress, if I do it not, for the honour of the city and the credit of my master, let me never hope for freedom.
'Tis well spoken in faith. Go thy ways, thou art a spark indeed.
Rafe, double your files bravely, Rafe.
I warrant you, sir.
Exit Rafe.
Let him look narrowly to his service. I shall take him else. I was there myself a pikeman once in the hottest of the day, wench. I had my feather shot sheer away, the fringe of my pike burnt off with powder, my pate broken with a scouring stick. Yet thank God I am here.
Drum within.
Hark, George, the drums.
Ran, tan, 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 tan. Oh, wench, thou and the house but seen and little Ned of Aldgate. Drum Ned, how he made it roar again and laid on like a tyrant, then struck softly till the ward came up, then thundered again, and together we go sa, sa, bounced off the guns. Courage, my hearts, quoth the captains. St. George, quoth the pikemen, and withal here they lay, and there they lay, and yet for all this I'm here, wench.
Be thankful for it, George, for indeed 'tis wonderful.
Kill, kill, kill. So there we are again. We have a tiny little bit of the plot goes the way it's supposed to go. Along comes Jasper, flowered up, looking like a ghost, convinces the merchant to beat up poor Humphrey. The lovers are going to be reunited, but it's all not really what the citizen and his wife are interested in, so back comes poor Rafe to do their bidding. Any thoughts on this scene? Eric?
I don't think I was here for it, but is that a reference to like the sort of peasants' revolt and sort of the sort of like the description that the citizen gives and all that stuff? That seems a bit like sort of, I don't know, maybe what's it called? Jack Straw? I don't know. It just seems like that kind of play where you're Georgia Green kind of thing.
That's quite a bit earlier, isn't it? I thought it was just an apprentice's fight, but Alan?
Yeah, I don't think it's referring directly to the events of Peasants' Revolt or Jack Straw, but there were many theatrical recreations of that sort of uprising around the time. So I think it's a general pastiche of, the apprentices going a bit wild, and disruption anywhere, bang a few drums. I'm thinking modern day Orange Parade.
I think the apprentices were in the habit of rising up occasionally, weren't they? Stephen?
May Day being one of them, I think. Shrove Tuesday being another. I mean, it's interesting how the kind of spirit of comedy, as it were, is quite easily turned into blokes with guns marching about the place. And it's kind of animal spirits, as it were. But I suppose I'm a bit hazy on this, but there was an awful lot of martial mustering in the decade before, because there was a quite well-founded fear of invasion, so perhaps we should be a little bit more charitable about this. That this was, the idea of a militia, has perhaps got slightly less dangerous patriotic overtones than it might have for us today.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. We're talking as much about an actual citizens protection committee, I think, as anything that sounds scarier to us.
They're quite well regulated.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's important to have your militia well regulated. Further thoughts? Okay, Act 5, Scene 2. Enter Rafe and his company with drums and colours.
March fair, my hearts. Lieutenant, beat the rear up. Ancient, let your colours fly. But every Greek care of butchers' hooks at Whitechapel. There have been the death of many a fair ancient. Open your files that I may take a view of your persons and munition. Sergeant, call a muster.
Stand, William Hamerton, Pewterer.
Here, Captain.
A corslet and a Spanish pike. 'Tis well. Can you shake it with a terror?
I hope so, Captain.
Charge upon me, 'tis with the weakest. What more strength, William Hamerton? More strength. As you were, again. Proceed, Sergeant.
George Green Goose, Poulterer.
Here.
Let me see your piece, Lady Green Goose. When was she shot in?
Like you, Master Captain, I made a shot even now, partly to scour her and partly for audacity.
Well, it should seem so, certainly, for her breath is yet inflamed. Yeah, besides, there is a main fault in the touch hole. It runs and stinketh. I'll tell you moreover, and believe it, 10 such touch holes would breed the pox in the army. Get you a feather, neighbour, get you a feather. sweet oil and paper, and your piece may do well enough yet. Where's your powder?
Here.
What? In a paper? As I am a soldier and a gentleman, it craves a martial court. You ought to die for it. Where's your horn? Answer me to that.
And like you, sir, I was oblivious.
Oblivious indeed. It likes me not, nor should it be so. 'Tis a shame for you and a scandal to all our neighbours, being a man of worth and estimation, to leave your horn behind you. I'm afraid to breed example. Let me tell you no more on't. Stand till I be you all. What's become of the nose of your flask?
Indeed, Lord Captain, 'twas blown away with powder.
Put a new one on the city's charge. Where's the stone of this piece?
The drummer took it out to light tobacco.
'Tis a fault, my friend. Put it in again. You want a nose? You a stone, sergeant? Take a note on't, for I mean to stop it in the pay. Remove and march, soft and fair gentlemen, soft and fair, double and file as you wear, faces about. Now, you with a sudden face, keep in there. Look to your match, sitter. You'll be in your fellow's flask anon. So, make a crescent now. Advance your pikes, stand and give ear. Gentlemen, countrymen, friends, and my fellow soldiers, I have brought you this day from the shops of security and the counters of content to measure out in these furious fields honour by the ell and prowess by the pound. Let it not, oh, let it not, I say, be told hereafter the noble issue of this city fainted, but bear yourselves in this fair action like men, valiant men, and free men. Fear not the face of the enemy, nor the noise of the guns, for believe me, brethren, the rude rambling of a brewer's cart is far more terrible, of which you have daily experience. No, neither let the stink of powder offend you, since a more valiant stink is rightly with you. To a resolved mind, his home is everywhere. I speak not this to take away the hope of your return, for you shall see, I do not doubt it, and that very shortly your loving wives again, and your sweet children, whose care doth bear you company in baskets. Remember then whose cause you have in hand, and like a sort of true-born scavengers, scour me this famous realm of enemies. I have no more to say but this. Stand to your tacklings, lads, and show to the world you can as well brandish a sword as shake an apron. St. George! And on, my hearts.
Sir George!
George!
Exeunt.
'Twas well done, Rafe. I'll send thee a cold cape on a field and a bottle of March beer, and it may be come myself to see thee.
Now the boy hath deceived me much. I did not think it had been in him. He has performed such a matter, wench, that if I live next year, I'll have him captain of the galley foist, or I'll want my will.
Okay, so a little bit of military comedy there to break things up. Any thoughts on that, Rachel?
This is just a biggest dickest scene where you, anytime they break, you go in on them. You know, and they're doing all these things. They're running around. Write this down. Go get your guns. Go get your pikes. They're just running around. It's all disordered every which way. And then, get back in line.
It's such a scene in more ways than one. I think every single complaint about the weapon was some kind of venereal disease joke.
Yeah.
Steve.
I mean, production has the choice to make, doesn't it, really? That you either play it as Rafe, kind of very hesitant and not really being an actor and stepping up and finally doing well, Or you just go, right, we've got 3 sketches here. Let's do some sketch comedy. And I tried to do the first one as a sort of more hesitant Rafe who can't really act, as it were, really. But I'm so shallow, I thought, no, I'll do sketch comedy instead. But I don't think you could get away with that in a production. You probably need to choose one or the other.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you did make that choice because it was a lovely speech done that way. But yeah, I think you probably would have to make that choice. And I think it's more entertaining, frankly, if you make the second choice. It's too many layers. If you do somebody who is trying to do this, because he's improvised all these very clever bits, if you add the layer of he's not that good at improvising and I don't know, maybe.
You can't do this play as the show that goes wrong.
Right.
You know.
I think there's a lot of mischief theater type physical comedy in it, but not as the play that goes wrong. I agree. Alan.
I'm just wondering whether in some of the sort of more set piecey bits that seem to be in there, whether almost you could play it as Rafe has been given a scroll backstage, you know, which is part of the company's standard repertoire from whatever piece they happen to be doing. You know, I'll just go on and do this one, sunshine, because that one does have the feel that it's a sequence lifted from someone else.
I also think it's kind of funnier if nobody is really empowered by the citizen and the citizen's wife. Elizabeth.
I just want to say that I really agree with Alan. Like, there's a sense every time Rafe comes out, they've ruined the wife and the citizen have ruined the play. They've miscarried the play completely, and he has to do something different. He has to do something new. So it is a sense that but he's too good. Rafe is too good to be improvised on the spot. So maybe it's like, okay, do Act 2, Scene 1 of this, or read this bit of paper that we've got here. There's a sense that there's some organization to it, but it's something that they have in their repertoire. I like that. That assumption.
Rachel.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this and what Elizabeth just said about the repertoire. I know in the past we've done some plays and Alan's described them as like the best bits, you know, of the plays. And like, this is the pastiche thing. Like, I wonder if this also brings in the, you know, I don't even know if they're on the bingo, but if we're going to add that little bingo space, I feel like it could check off those types of plays too, because it's created a framing device for these, you know, let's get to the meat and the funnest part of this genre of play, you know, and just bring that part in. You know, everybody sits through the rest of it for this part, for these big speeches, and, you know, walks away with those. Yeah.
Eric.
I think it's also a case that, like, kind of what Rachel said, I think, on the first day, where it was kind of like, yeah, we have all these costumes and we don't really have a budget. So here, take that one. And kind of, yeah, it feels a bit sort of like it could be the sort of Royster Doyster scene from, I mean, you know, when they're sort of assembling in front of the house with pots and pans and random stuff. Or it could be played a bit more seriously where they actually have weapons. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of you can go either way, and it's flexible enough to do that, which is very smart.
Shall we return to our plot?
Plot? What is this thing called plot?
Taught me no plots.
Act 5, Scene 3. Enter old Merry Thought.
Yes, I thank God I break not a wrinkle more than I had, not a stoop, boys. Care live with cats, I defy thee. My heart is as sound as an oak, and though I want drink to wet my whistle, I can sing. Come no more there, boys, come no more there, for we shall never whilst we live come any more there.
Enter a boy with coffin bearers and a coffin.
God save you, sir.
It's a brave boy. Canst thou sing?
Yes, sir, I can sing, but 'tis not so necessary at this time.
Sing we and chant it, while love doth grant it.
Sir, if you knew what I have brought you, you would have little list to sing.
Oh, the mimmen round, full long I have thee sought, and now I have thee found. And what hast thou there brought?
A coffin, sir, and your dead son Jasper in it.
Exit boy and coffin bearers.
Why, farewell he, thou wast a bonny boy, and I did love thee.
Enter Jasper.
Then I pray you, sir, do so still.
Jasper's ghost? Thou art welcome from Stygian Lake Sassoon. Declare to me what wondrous things in Pluto's court are done.
By my troth, sir, I ne'er came there. 'Tis too hot for me, sir.
A merry ghost, a very merry ghost. And where is your true love? Oh, where is yours?
Mary, look you, sir.
Heaves up the coffin, reveals Luce.
Aha! Art thou good at that, i' faith? With hey tricksy, tray whiskin, the world runs on wheels. When the young man's goes the maiden's heels.
Mistress Merrythought and Michael within.
What, Mr. Merrythought, will you not let us in? What do you think shall become of us?
What voice is that that calls us at our door?
You know me well enough. I am sure I have not been such a stranger to you.
Some they whistled and some they sung, hey down, down, and some did loudly say, ever as the Lord Barnettion blew, away, Musgrave, away!
Will you not have us starve here? Will you, Master Merrythought?
Nay, good sir, be persuaded. She is my mother. If her offenses have been great against you, let your own love remember she is yours, and so forgive her.
Good Master Merrythought, let me entreat you. I will not be denied.
Why, Master Merrythought, will you be a vexed thing still?
Woman, I take you to my love again, but you shall sing before you enter. Therefore dispatch your song, and so come in.
Well, you must have your will when all is done. Mick, what song canst thou sing, boy?
I can sing none forsooth, but a lady's daughter of Paris properly. It was a lady's daughter of Paris.
Old Merrythought opens the door. Enter Mistress Merrythought and Michael.
Come, you're welcome home again. If such danger be in playing, and jest must to enter earnest turn, you shall go no more a-maying.
Are you within, sir? Master Merrythought?
Is my master's voice. Good sir, go hold him and talk while we convey ourselves into some inward room.
Exit Jasper and Luce.
What are you? Are you merry? You must be very merry if you enter.
I am, sir.
Sing then.
Nay, good sir, open to me.
Sing, I say, or by the merry heart you come not in.
Well, sir, I'll sing. Fortune, my foe.
Merrythought opens the door and Merchant enters.
You are welcome, sir, you're welcome. You see your entertainment. Pray you be merry.
Oh, Master Merrythought, I come to ask you forgiveness for the wrongs I've offered you and your most virtuous son. They're infinite, yet my contrition shall be more than they. I do confess my hardness broke his heart, for which just heaven hath given me punishment more than my age can carry. His wandering spirit, not yet at rest, pursues me everywhere, crying, I'll haunt thee for thy cruelty. My daughter, she is gone, I know not how, taken, invisible, and whether living or in grave, 'tis yet uncertain to me. Oh, Master Merrythought, these are the weights will sink me to my grave. Forgive me, sir.
Why, sir, I do forgive you, and be merry. And if the wag since lifetime played the knave, can you forgive him too?
With all my heart, sir.
Speak it again, and heartily.
I do, sir. Now by my soul I do.
Re-enter Jasper and Luce.
With that came out his paramour. She was as white as a lily flower. Hey, troll, trolly, lolly. With that came out her own dear knight. He was as true as e'er did fight. Sir, if you will forgive 'em, clap their hands together. There's no more to be said in the matter.
I do.
I do not like this piece, boys. Hear me, one of you. Everybody's part has come to an end but Rafe's. He's left out.
'Tis long of yourself, sir. We have nothing to do with his part.
Rafe, come away. Make on him as you have done of the rest. Boys, come.
Now, good husband, let him come out and die.
He shall now. Rafe, come quickly and die, boy.
'Twill be very unfit he should die, sir, upon no occasion, and in a comedy too.
Take you no care for that, sir boy. Is not his part at an end, think you, when he's dead? Come away, Rafe.
Enter Rafe with a forked arrow through his head. You're muted, Stephen.
I'll just mime the whole thing. When I was mortal, this my costive corpse did lap up figs and raisins in the strand, where sitting I espied a lovely dame, whose master wrote with lingle and with awl, and underground he vamped many a boot. Straight did her love prick forth me, tender sprig, to follow feats of arms in warlike wise, through Waltham desert, where I did perform many achievements, and did lay on ground huge Barbarosso, that insulting giant, and all his captives soon set at liberty. Then honour pricked me from my native soil into Moldavia, where I gained the love of Pompeiana, his beloved daughter, but yet proved constant to the black-thumbed maid, Susan, and scorned Pompeiana's love. Yet liberal I was, and gave her pins, and money for her father's officers. I then returned home, and thrust myself in action, and by all men chosen was Lord of the May, where I did flourish it with scarves and rings and posy in my hand. After this action I preferred was, and chosen city captain at Mile End with hat and feather, and with leading staff, and trained my men, and brought them all off clear, save one man that bewrayed him with the noise. But all these things I, Rafe, did undertake, only for my beloved Susan's sake. Then coming home and sitting in my shop with apron blue, death came unto my store to cheapen aqua vitae. But ere I could take the bottle down and fill a taste, death caught a pound of pepper in his hand, and sprinkled all my face and body o'er, and in an instant vanished away.
'Tis a pretty fiction of faith.
Then took I up my bow and shaft in hand, and walked into more fields to cool myself. But there grim, cruel death met me again, and shot this forked arrow through my head. And now I faint, therefore be warned by me, my fellows everyone of forked heads. Farewell, all you good boys in merry London. Ne'er shall we more upon Shrove Tuesday meet, and pluck down houses of iniquity. Oh, my pain increaseth. I shall never more hold open whilst another pumps both legs, nor door besat in gown with rotten eggs set up a stake. Oh, never more I shall. I die. Fly, fly, my soul, to Grose's hall. Oh, oh, oh,
Well said, Rafe.
oh.
Well said, Rafe. Do your obeisance to the gentleman and go your ways. Well said, Rafe.
Exit Rafe.
Methinks all we, thus kindly and unexpectedly reconciled, should not part without a song.
A good motion.
Strike up then.
Here is a song. Whoever feels like it, hit it. Rachel, please.
Better music never was known than a choir of hearts in one. Let each other that hath been troubled with the gall or spleen learn of us to keep his brow smooth and plain as ours are now. Sing though before the hour of dying, he shall rise and then be crying, hey ho, 'tis naught but mirth that keeps the body from the earth.
Exit all. And now we have an epilogue.
Come now, shall we go? The play's done.
Nay, by my faith, George, I have more manners than so. I'll speak to these gentlemen first. I thank you all, gentlemen, for your patience and countenance to Rafe, a poor fatherless child, and if I may see you at my house, it should go hard. But I would have a pottle of wine and a pipe of tobacco for you, for truly I hope you do like the youth, but I would be glad to know the truth. I refer it to your own discretions, whether you will applaud him or no, for I will wink. And whilst you shall do what you will, I thank you with all my heart. God give you good night. Come, George!
Exeunt. Oh, that was delightful. Thank you, Rachel.
Why am I so at the grocer's hall? Okay.
Right. Thoughts on the end of the play? Rachel.
I was just gonna say, I love the wife. Every time she's so delightful. Everything she says.
And she's so sincere.
Eric.
She does kind of contradict herself though, because she goes, yeah, I'll have a pipe of tobacco for you. But like earlier in the play, she had actually gone on about stinking tobacco and these habits. But I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point.
Well, she says it will go hard, but she will do it anyway because...
Yes.
Yeah. I think having heard a little bit more of Old Mary Thought, I think he is kind of doing a jukebox musical. I think he's bringing whatever hits of the time kind of fit the situation to mind. I don't think he's improvising songs entirely. Alan?
Yeah, no, I think he's working off a known repertoire. And I think I suggested the other day that he could be portrayed as being sort of the guy who's the finger in the ear singer that you get at every local folk club, who can sometimes hold a tune, which I certainly can't. And I was not familiar with the material that he was doing, so there was no way I could bust it. But it does seem to go all over the damn place, particularly in this last quarter. You know, the first bit of it had certain elements of consistency, but then it just sort of went veering off wildly in about 16 different directions.
We're talking about the play as a whole now. Or
yeah.
The ending of the play. Yeah, I mean, I think they did their best to kind of return to their wedding plot and sort it all out, but you You can't undo Mrs. Citizen. She just will not. Elizabeth.
Yeah, it brings to mind that phrase Eric said, plot me no plots. You know, there's a strong sense that this play is being disrupted, that it's a playgoer's play. You know the score, you know how a play is supposed to end, you know what characters are supposed to do what and when, but this time we're not going to follow the rules of narrative, and we're going to disrupt any opportunity for the play to work out in any linear fashion.
Because as you say, we all know how it would work out. Kyle. Oh, and then Lynn.
I was thinking what Stephen had said. I think that Rafe has to be the better actor in some ways, and the more humorous, and that plot that's unfolding has to be kind of boring in some ways, or poorly acted, and he's better than that main, because when she welcomes in his the applause for him, it seems like she suggests that about him.
Lynn.
It does get a kind of extra chaotic here in the last quarter, where we start out with the play within the play within the play. Rafe's little play is a recognizable medieval romance, but then that kind of concludes, and then we throw in a Lord Mayor's show or some kind of pageant sort of genre, and then we have like a kind of Society for Creative Anachronisms mock battle that we're talking about. So it goes even a little more off the rails at this point. And I think the secret to making it work is just don't give the audience a moment to think. I think you might even have to do some cutting, because especially the stuffy starty way, it's like, yeah, we get it. It's a Lord Mayor, it's a pageant monologue, and it's kind of maybe longer than it needs to be. And the sequence with the soldiers and Hammerton and the sergeant and stuff maybe takes longer than it needs to. Yeah, we get it. That's what this is. That's what's happening here, so that we do get the frame play, or the sort of middle layer plot concluded and resolved, so the audience doesn't, so we kind of don't lose them. Particularly these days, I don't, I have a friend who used to say 3-hour comedy is a contradiction in terms. So we need to keep it going and not give the audience time to think, and maybe cut some so that we get to this end in a nice pacey way.
Stephen, then Eric.
I think Eric was in before me.
Okay, Eric, then Stephen.
Thank you. Okay. I was gonna say, but I think it works in the, like, sort of the citizen just kind of goes, what about Rafe? You resolved this plot without us. And then the boy just goes, well, we had a play before you turned up. And sort of, but then, like, sort of, okay, you want us to resolve this? Let's just give him a death speech, huh? How about that? And then I just enjoyed the moment where Rafe is dying, and I sort of, I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, but Stephen was going, oh, whoa. And then Elizabeth cut in with, well said, Rafe, and then, oh. Just, it plays quite well, like that sort of like an actor who's still vying for his space kind of thing, and his time, and and I don't know, it was quite, and I think done at pace, it would make sense, and kind of, so long as you know what the threads are, because then there is a moment where they kind of affect each other and then get disentangled again.
I think with the Rafe monologues, I think if you were doing it now, I think one way you could do it is sort of hand it over to the actor and see if they can make something of it. In a sense, I sort of took the approach that the words don't actually matter, and can I bring enough changes on it, because that's what they'll be listening to. That they'll be listening to that. Anyway, the point I was going to make was the ending. I mean, think about the way that comedies end. You know, they end with, I don't know, with a marriage, which this sort of resolutely kind of avoids, in a sense, or they end with a dance or something like that. What I like about this is that actually it doesn't end at all, because the wife goes, well, me and Rafe are going home and we've got plenty of booze, so let's keep it going. And I love that. You know, it's the sort of thing that, you know, ignorant people often say, oh yes, well, you know, it's a really modern idea. Well, of course it isn't, is it? Exhibit A is this play as to what is modern and what is not modern. But I love one, because you know, romantic comedy is all very well, but hey, it doesn't speak to me. But two, I just love the idea that actually what's happened is that we've had a kind of transformation, which is an open-ended one. You know, that it isn't the high spirits of the play are not tied into us, you know, getting hugely invested in a particular romantic couple as a symbol of the greater renewal of society or whatever. It's actually just a party. We got the party started, but let's carry it on. And that's a lovely open-ended way to do it. And also, how refreshing that you don't have to buy into all of that romantic love stuff to still enjoy the end of the comedy.
Lynn, then Alan.
Let's let Alan go, because I talk too much as it is.
Well, my only thought, I would slightly differ with Stephen's comment there about the closer, because the play itself does finish with the big panto sing-song walk down. You know, and then yet again, citizen and wife disrupt the whole bloody thing just to throw yet another pack of spanners into the works.
But that's the joy of it, and that's
that's the point of them. I know, I appreciate that,
but the play is not the play within the play. Rachel, I'm sorry, you had something to say as well, and then Lynn, if you so want.
It was kind of to what Lynn was saying about not giving the audience time to think. I think you could, with the, I don't think, even though comedy moves fast and the pace of comedy is fast, I think there's some scenes like the Lord Mayor's speech where you could have it not slowed down, but you know, without, and even in that slowness, people could, you know, might not have a chance to think, like, you know, because it is so, the way that one part comes out, it's so long-winded and it's so speech-like, you know, and it reminds me of somebody a while ago, or every once in a while, people make compilation videos of Donald Trump's speeches, but with all the words removed, just him inhaling, and they just cut it for those things. And you could play with the comedy of, it's not the actual words that they're saying in those portions, but it's the absence of it, and it's the boredom of some types of speech, of political speech, you know, and the greatness with which people deliver sometimes nonsense.
And I think you have a sorry, Lynn, I will let you talk. You have a built-in device here of the citizen and his wife, like some sort of kindly Statler and Waldorf up there, who are just available to disrupt any speeches that get boring. You don't have to cut it to make it more entertaining than the words are to us today. There's all of this physical business that's available to them, and so on. Lynn, then Dan.
Yeah, before, you know, Stephen made his last comment, I was thinking that what this ending is a kind of vindication of comedy. We have this mock tragic ending, and it's actually very funny. You know, I die, I fly, oh, like police. And then it's like, well, let's have a song, because comedy is the genre that's the renewal of life. but I think actually it might be more complex than that, as Stephen was thinking. It's like the point isn't really, I mean, there is a battle of the genres going on, as one of our lurkers has observed. But it's more like it's the whole game, the game of performance in the large, performance writ large, that we're celebrating here. Like life is performance, performance is life. Come and hang out in our shop and have a drink and have a smoke, and let's go on, continue celebrating being alive together. And that's what theater does for us.
Dan, did you have something to say?
I feel like I was only here, I listened in yesterday and I was here today, but I am familiar with this play. And for me, this is one of those, if you like satires and you like lots of singing and dancing and lots of comedy, this goes down really easy. This is not a difficult play at all to comprehend. You don't need to unpack it. You can unpack it if you want, and then you get more out of it. You've got lots of allusions to, to Monday and to other playwrights and other plays. And then you've got lots of pulling from lots of different genres and whatnot. And it just enriches your experience. But on its face, this is kind of your musical theater thing right now. If you like that sort of thing, you're going to have a blast. I don't think, I mean, of course, anything can be cut and probably should be cut. But I realized that this play didn't do well when it first, apparently when it was first staged, as we know from the epistle, from the 1613 quarto. That, to me, that I don't know if it's because the company didn't perform it well, or the audience just wasn't ready for it, or it was just a bad timing. I don't know. But I do think that there's a reason why it seems to go down well with a lot of people today, at least a lot of geeks who just happen to know not only who Donald Fletcher are, but then also happen to know one of their plays. Because of the fact it's very much of a crowd pleaser. One thing that you don't see in our script is the fact that it's more songs than you even realize in this. Like, pretty much everything seems to be sung by certain characters there. We know this because it's all in italics. So you're really hearing it all the time. Everything's kind of moving along. Either you can sulk throughout the entire show because you hate this kind of genre, or just go with it. That's how I think this is, in my opinion.
I think we've sort of moved into final thoughts already. So I'm going to elicit final thoughts, and I'm going to take advantage of my position to say that my final thought is to add to Lynn's delightful description of it as a vindication of comedy. The ending is a vindication of comedy, that the whole thing is a vindication not just of comedy, but of theatricality and of the inventiveness, ingenuity, and skill of performers. So I'm all for that. Final thoughts, everyone, please. Eric.
Sure, I'm gonna have more thoughts once other people start talking. Yeah, no, I was thinking that it's kind of like that thing, that device that was used. I think it was Warning of Fair Women or something, where it's like fortune and tragedy and comedy come out and battle it out, and then kind of go. No, it was comedy, history, and tragedy, and then they kind of go, yeah, well, you lost today. Comedy and history lost today, so we're gonna go for tragedy. And then, but in the epilogue, they kind of go, well, if you want a comedy, you can come back tomorrow. There's an alternative ending, which kind of, yeah, or it's a different play. We don't know. And I like to think that this is the play that they offer, and then offer an after party probably next door or something. Also, what I found weird was that there's a moment in this where you kind of think that the wife is supporting Humphrey at some point, because she goes, the sort of, he's a good boy, he should get the girl he wants, and sort of very polite, well-to-do, upstanding citizen, that kind of thing. But he doesn't, and there's a moment where you think, but why doesn't she complain? She could sort of. She could, it could go further. That's what I mean. It depends how far you want to take this, and sort of, because it is the citizen who disrupts the whole thing afterwards. He kind of goes, yeah, I'm bored, I need some action, kill people, or that kind of thing, which is, I don't know, it's interesting how they shift roles as well. Kind of at the beginning he's kind of like, be quiet, you're embarrassing me, we brought you to a play for the first time and you can't shut up, kind of thing. Although he's also trying to sort of play to her wants and needs and desires. But then slowly it becomes like him going, but Rafe isn't in this. What's going on? What? How dare they? They haven't included Rafe. So it's kind of, you can play it that way as well. You can, I don't know, there are just so many, it's just fun.
Kyle, any final thoughts?
I just love this play. I think it's so great. I love all the boundaries that are being broken, the genre boundaries, the audience, and I mean, it's one of my favorites, I think, for sure.
Alan, final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether the change in mood that Eric was alluding to there between Citizen and his wife, he was sent off earlier by her, she who must be obeyed, to go and get the beer. And I just wonder whether he's been more enthusiastically indulging in that than anybody else, which would explain his sort of slightly bizarre war stories at one point.
I like that. And again, there's a lot of comedy to be had with the
Oh
beer.
God, yes. I mean, you can get so much stereotype comedy from him and from Merrythought in terms of the old soak. And there is so much physical action that could be added into this. Not that I'm capable of doing any of it any more than I am the singing, but it could be put in there and actually make the whole thing much more spectacular. And to a certain extent, you come out whistling the set.
Final thoughts, Lynn?
Yeah, I'm a little thoughted out. I know I've been awfully vocal these last 4 days, but I just love this play. Because I love the theater and because I think theater is important and healing and renewing, and that it brings people together. And that's partly just my bias. When I was a practitioner, even though it was amateur theater and I always had to have a day job, it was like the one place I ever felt like I actually completely belonged. And so this play is sort of sentimentally important to me because it celebrates performance and vindicates that as something socially important and human and necessary. I do think, having gone through this reading, that yeah, it's probably a little long as it is for the stage, but I just think it just has just so much potential to really delight an audience today, any day, if you've got the stones to put it on.
I'm not sure that the way in which we read plays gives us a really accurate sense of whether it's too long or not. We'll have to do it at a pace and see. Stephen, final thoughts?
Well, I'm like Lynn. I think I've had plenty of intermediary thoughts. I suppose the one that springs to mind is coming back to the idea of this as a play for a boys' troupe, which to us now would be seen as quite a limitation, perhaps, and perhaps to them was, And I think it's really interesting to reflect on, all the great things that people have said about this play, the celebration of theatre, all of the things that Lynn said and everyone else has said. It actually comes out of a play which was written for boys to perform, something which you might think of as a sort of a disabling limitation. This isn't, intended for the great and good and the adult troops who've been together for ages. This is just something, there was perhaps something liberatory about the idea of writing for writing within these constraints that opened this up. So it's actually a more general point, isn't it? Not about spirit of comedy, but about the imagination.
Elizabeth, final thoughts?
Yeah, I've just thoroughly enjoyed listening to the final thoughts we've heard so far. And what I wanted to say is that although the play resists genre, one genre it doesn't resist is comedy. It's funny. It's hilarious. I found it hilarious from beginning to end thoroughly, and I think that's an incredible achievement for the author, for the playwright, because something that doesn't translate well across cultures and across time is comedy. What was funny then is definitely often not funny now, especially when it's tongue-in-cheek or it's like politically incorrect. But with this play, I feel that the comedy has translated so well. And like many in the room, I love this play and I've thoroughly enjoyed the last 4 days going through it. I've really, really enjoyed myself. And I think it just keeps on being funny.
Daniel, any final thoughts?
This goes actually back to, I think, what Sarah was asking, I think after we had finished to close the session yesterday, of why isn't this done more often? Because apart from having a really talented singing company, I mean, once you have that, and then somebody who's a good director and a good musical director, this should be raking it in, honestly. If we're trying to get in, trying to introduce audiences to other early modern playwrights, this is an easy one, in my opinion. You can pull out all the bells and whistles. It's easy to market, and you're pretty much assured to have people who are going to have a good time and say, "Hey, that was actually pretty fun." There. So, yeah, again, I'll just repeat one more time that, yeah, if you don't like this kind of play, don't like these types of satires and singing and dancing and whatnot, okay, you're not going to enjoy it. Sorry, but if so, yeah, it's lots of fun. Not very deep, what I had to say.
Yeah, if I can just like insert in there, I mean, I actually don't know very much about theater in the UK or on the continent, but Shakespeare has a tremendous amount of traction in the United States. There's a Shakespeare festival in every single state. Oh. Right. Sorry.
Right. That was the point I was making without saying it.
The Night of the Pestle is, I think, performed fairly often, at least as far as plays that are by other people than somebody we don't talk about
Yeah, I've just been unlucky. I've never been able to catch a production of it. So so my sense is that it's underutilized. But yeah, you could smuggle it in and just and make it a really wonderful surprise to your subscription audience.
Let me can I just go back to my point on that?
Please.
In the UK, I know that it's been at some of the bigger theaters, that perform classical theater has been staged there, but not the National, at least not to my knowledge. In the States, I mean, maybe it has been, but it's not been on my radar, and certainly it hasn't been in the past few years. And I would suggest to theater producers to put this on, because you don't have to worry about getting an audiences as long as you get a good company in.
Rachel, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, this is my first time reading this. I've heard about it from you guys for a while. I feel like every part in this is as good as gold. Like, there's so much to chew on and there's so much to do comedically. And I would love to come back to this as a second look, because there's so many games that you can just play with each other during this. And I think I feel like rehearsals for this, but for a full show, would be amazing. What Dan just said about if you had a great company, like it, for all the singing parts and stuff like this, and everybody was on it, I feel like you would have just a great time and a great show.
Yeah. Alan, any extra final thoughts?
Yeah, a couple of things. I just looked at the word count of this compared with other stuff that we've done at pace. And it's about the same length as one or two that we've had to do our second look, first take versions over 2 sessions. So they've run for something like 3 hours, 3 and a bit, without the discussion and interruption. But the other thing is, following up on Stephen's thought about this being written for a boys' company, I was just reminded of the story when Orson Welles complimented over Citizen Kane. Well, how could you do that? That's impossible. He said, nobody told me it was impossible before I did it. You know, and there may be that element in there of they didn't know what the rules were, so they didn't have problems bending them.
Well, I think one of the themes of our explorations has been, especially for those of us who don't really know early modern plays all that well, been how much experimentation has been going on in so many of these, how much formal kind of exuberance there is. And this seems to have a lot of it packed into one place. I saw another hand and I don't know who it was.
So Eric.
Dan.
Well, I saw Eric had you had your hand up.
Okay, well, both of you,
did
please.
too.
One after the other.
Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say that there are other plays that are meta-theatrical, as we've discussed so many times. But yeah, this one is fun. And it's like, why not? I would just totally do a season of this one plus Bugbears, which is kind of another, and maybe like Old Wives' Tale. Because they're well, not nonsensical, but it's just like it's so fast paced, and probably supposes as well translated by George Gascoigne, which we've done on our YouTube, I think, and sort of, yeah, like you could just pack so many in there, and they would not be plays that are well known, but they're so much fun and so insanely fast. That the plot, like, it's kind of one of those things where you just walk out of a play going, what just happened? And the other person goes, I don't know, but it was fun. And it's sort of like, yeah.
Daniel.
You sit in the grocery shop and you drink wine and smoke a pipe and talk about it. That's part of the pleasure of theater, is going with people that you enjoy and you enjoy talking with and talk about the experience right after, and then the weeks after, and it's yeah. At the risk of oversharing, it's something that's really important in my main relationship, is that we love the theater and we talk about our favorite things that we've seen together in the before time, you know, and like how hilarious was that, and even ones that was like, yeah, that was a letdown. So yeah, all those layers of human relationship building that the theater enhances.
When I studied theater as a mature student, having done a great deal of amateur theater and spent a lot of time watching shows, one of the first things they said to me was that a play doesn't start when it starts and it doesn't end when it ends, that the experience includes, you know, the first time you hear about it and the last time you talk about it. And I was a bit like, that's all terribly postmodern, don't be silly. But I can kind of apply that to what you just said, and I feel a little bit better about it now. I am still fairly anti-postmodern, but there you go. Dan.
As much as I would love to do a second look on something like this, especially because it's a very popular play to begin with, I feel like it's not the kind of thing we can really do justice unless it was one of those second looks that we used to do, where it's really well workshopped. And the other thing too is it would require singing, or you're going to lose. I mean, that's the production. It is the song. I mean, a lot of it is songs. If you don't do the songs, you're really not doing the show. It's like reading out lyrics to songs. You can't really,
we have Rachel, we have Liza, we have
right.
A few other people.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Really
But I'm saying that if we didn't do it that way, I don't think that we would be doing it. We wouldn't really be putting on the production. We would just be doing literally a reading of a script, where we may as well be reading lyrics to Fleetwood Mac, you know.
Sure, and I think there's a case to be made for this as a relatively well-known play and therefore not as deserving of our exploration simply because, I don't know, because Rafe Spall played Rafe in 2005, as I found out when I posted about this on Twitter. I'm sorry, there was another hand. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I just found everybody's insights really, really fascinating. I think Noel Coward famously played Rafe as well, and I still maintain that Rafe is just a notoriously difficult character to play. I wanted to say that thinking about this in performance, because Lynn said some really lovely things about stage, and you too, Aliki. There have been some lovely things said about theatre and the concept of theatre and how it's almost harmonizing and brings in a sense of togetherness. I think this is a play that can go so wrong. I think it's a play that with the best cast in the world and the best director in the world, it can fall flat. If you don't play up, I'm not sure how many different complex ideas and notions are in this thing. Even though it is a comedy, and even though it does throw away plot and throw away a lot of conventions, and it also blurs genres and it seems to precede genre. So I just feel like if it's put on more, we could probably see some very dodgy productions of it that we might not want to write home about.
Yeah. It could. I mean, I hadn't thought about, part of like, I'm almost afraid to find a production and see it, because if it doesn't fly, it will just break my heart. I felt that same way that the very first production I saw of Our Country's Good was just terrible. It was just, and then I'm like, I love this play. This has to be, but I saw a second production, which was much better. I'm like, okay, I feel a little vindicated. But it also kind of reminds me of The Malcontent, which I just loved. And Alan was like, yeah, whatever, dude. That if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, there's an auditorium full of people going, there's 2.5 hours of my life I'll never get back.
That's theater. The more productions, the more chances of a great production.
And part of what makes it exciting is the risk.
Yeah. So I think on that note, I'm going to round off the session, unless anybody has any burning pestle insights that they wish to share that they haven't had a chance to share so far. Nope. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all of our wonderful readers. You've all been fantastic. And, we have lots of plays on our YouTube channel. Many of them are very, very funny. Many of them are very, very interesting in other ways. We also have a podcast, and there's a Patreon. So don't forget to sign up. Bye.